And stop thinking of like, how do I pay for them?
Right.
More
They'll pay
of
for themselves.
how do you create a situation where they pay for themselves?
Yeah.
Like that's always the question
Right.
in business.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
Right now, while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
We took our notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies led Craig and I to selling more than $10 million in premium in the last 2 years.
On this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the same results.
Just go to live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
If you jump on this call with us, we're certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.
Hey, Mr. Jason.
Hey, Mr. Craig. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. I like it when we just jump in and step on each other.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So
Well-
I got a question for you.
Do you? I hope I have an answer.
When should an agency hire additional staff?
That's a great question.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that you got it from one of our listeners, and feel free to email those questions in or text it to our line that's probably down below.
Or social
But-
media.
Yeah, social
Whatevs.
media, anywhere. You can smoke signal it. I think that Jason knows how to read smoke signals.
Carrier
But-
pigeon.
Carrier pigeon. What's the things in Harry Potter? Owls.
Telegraph?
Owls.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a great question. And I think that, again, like many of the other things, there's many answers, but a word that comes to mind is capacity is one thing that I think of when I hear, when should I hire an additional salesperson? Now, the question is not when should I be recruiting or when should I be looking? That's a whole different animal. But when should you hire? Because this is one of the most expensive activities that you can do at your agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to be smart about it. And one thing, this is something that would happen to me early on. I'd get excited about bringing somebody else on. I'd bring them on. And then all of a sudden, what would happen is the pie stayed the same, but it just was cut into more slices. And that's where the whole idea of capacity comes in. So I think once you're humming along, you have a really airtight marketing strategy that's creating a lot of activity and people are writing business and you have producers that are sort of maxing out at probably the most they could do. This is the time that you bring somebody additional on, right? As long as there's like almost too many leads, right? Too many leads, too many transfers, too many call-ins, whatever it is, when there's too much, this is a perfect opportunity to make that pie bigger.
Yep. And I would say to add to that is if you think you should, then you should. Like, so like the second there's a, should I hire another one? Then yes. If you're
Right.
even thinking it,
Yeah.
the only reason why you're thinking it is because if there's a slight need for it, then you need to do it. So that would be the first thing. And then the second thing I would say would be with that, I would think of if we brought on somebody new, how can we get them to pay for themselves
Right.
as quickly as possible?
You want them
So
to
whether-
be a revenue source, not a
Yeah.
cost center.
So what are those numbers? How many additional cross sells? How many additional, like what are the activities that they could do right out of the gate? So what we do with salespeople is put them on the phones for telemarketing right away. Like that's the first step, right? It
Right.
either qualifies, disqualifies them. Then it also gets them to pay for themselves while they're training and stuff. So think of those kind of things. Like how do we get them to pay for themselves right out of the gate? And then number 3, I would say is capacity. So like what you're always trying to do is push the supply demand thing, right? So you're trying to push everything to capacity. And then once you're, kind of busting at the seams, you need to add someone, create more additional capacity, and then try to push it even harder with the guys that you got. So you're kind of constantly pushing and running.
Yeah. It's interesting. So we as humans, we always are going to avoid pain, right? That's the thing that we want. It's just human nature. It's probably hardwired at the reptilian level, right? The reptile brain, but we want to avoid pain. So your question in the beginning there, where you said, if I have this thing that came into my mind, I wonder if I should be hiring, right? I think, let's break that down. You're thinking it because now there's this pain of not getting to as many people as you know right now, right? You don't have the capacity to get to everybody to close them all. That's why we're thinking about this. And it's versus then you stop and think, oh, but it's expensive and there's a lot of work. And so it's this situation where it's like, which pain is greater? And sometimes we'll look at that spend as a greater pain, and that'll prevent us from doing the thing that we actually need to do, which is to get the more people. And maybe getting the more people could be considered pleasure, right? Because now we're actually going to do better. So we're trying to avoid that pain, which is interesting. Yeah.
And stop thinking of like, how do I pay for them?
Right.
More
They'll pay
of
for themselves.
how do you create a situation where they pay for themselves?
Yeah.
Like that's always the question in business, I think, is like, once you think that there's a need for something, okay, I'm going to do it, but I just need a way to like, how do we get it to pay for itself?
Yeah. Well, it's shifting the focus of the mind on it being something you have to pay for versus it being something that you're investing in, right? If you're paying for it, then it just is an expense. Well, that's no good because we don't want to just incur an expense that's not going to create some return. We want to invest. So if I'm bringing somebody on, we're going to make sure we do everything right in order to make sure that they're going to be successful and become a revenue center. So part of that, I guess, would be, when should I bring somebody else on? Another question that should be asked is, are the processes in place to ensure that this person's successful above and beyond just leads and all of the stuff that they're going to be doing? But are all the things in place to make this person ultimately successful from the day they walk in the door? Are they going to be happy there? Do they have a good setup? Do you have the best technology, or do their headphones work? Or is it going to be a mad scramble? If it's going to be a scramble, and I know that I've been in that place where we just bring them on, it's like, well, we'll figure it out. And that doesn't work out well, right? It's not a great experience. So we want to have a really good onboarding experience for that person too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's very rare that you agree. Usually you're going to take the opposing point of view. What's up with this?
That's true. So that's good. I think those are some good tips on when to hire additional staff in your insurance agency.
Yep.
Playbook number 12.
Playbook number 12. And it's fun to be back on video, Mr. Jason.
It is.
We'll see you next time. Hey, what are you still doing here?
Well, while you're still here and while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
Yeah, if you weren't listening before, we took notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies did help Craig and I write over $10 million in premium in the last couple years.
And let me tell you, on this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the very same results.
Again, that's live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
And if you jump on with us, we are certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.